How about that new intro, Travis?
Yes.
It's looking so good.
It's amazing to look back, right? All of the guests that we've had, we're over 230 some odd episodes, and all the players and the coaches and media people, the Korn Ferry Tour Top 25 that you're doing. It's been cool to see. And this has been a huge week, by the way. We appreciate everybody going out and subscribing to the podcast. And if you haven't, you got to go do it. And then leave us a rating in a comment, because that goes a long ways. We're climbing our goals to get to the top 5. So a new intro. I love it.
And I would say too, if there's somebody you want to see on the podcast, if there's an instructor you're interested in, if there's a player you really like, comment, let us know, leave us a comment on YouTube, a review in the Apple Podcasts, and we'll do our best to get them on. But this is, we've got some exciting stuff coming up, redoing the website, which is going to be incredible. Yeah. Some really new, cool opportunities for people in the Travis Fulton golf community.
Yeah, the website's coming along. I think it'll be ready to go probably December 1st, kind of in conjunction with the studio, which is moving along as well. We'll have a new About Golf simulator in there, putting green. We'll work on some new podcast sets and green screens and all. So it's going to be an all-encompassing studio, and so we're excited about that. A lot of golf, though, being played right now in the meantime, including your boy, Robert Streb.
My boy. I don't know that that's technically anybody's boy, but a lot of interest on Twitter and breaking down his swing. We know that now he's won back after Keith Mitchell had a hot start as we're recording this on Friday. The CJ Cup, the second week in Vegas, but very interesting swing here. You tweeted about it earlier, and a lot of people wanted to hear your take on it. So I'll just let you take it away.
Yeah, a lot of feedback on the swing. I called it a funky swing because it is. And when I call someone's swing different, unique, funky, it doesn't mean that you're trying to mold everybody into like this perfect cookie cutter swing. That's not the case. People who follow me know I love these swings that have personality. But when you look at Streb, he's a 10-finger grip, number one. He takes it back, like the first move's clean. On plane, face looks square, and then he kind of like hinges it up, lifts it, opens the face up with some extension in the wrist, and then he kind of pulls down on it steep, takes on this ton of side bend to the right, all of these things that you would never see posted in social media, right? As, hey, try this, right? You would never see square to open at the top, pull it down with some extension, ton of side bend back, with probably, Samantha, the most amount of like face flip and rotation on the other side. All of these things I'm listing are things that you wouldn't advertise, but yet he has them, and clearly he's got incredible hands. And usually when you see players like this that have a lot of face rotation and they use their hands, they have great short games, which Streb does as well. It's just a funky swing. It's cool to look at. And my goodness, he shot 11 under par. They are absolutely dismantling this golf course.
Well, it was funny to me. I was looking on your Twitter page, and obviously we had Beaten the Bookie on earlier this week, and he gave away his whole golf package for free. But somebody had tweeted like, "How about Streb at the top?" And his response was, "I promise you, he won't be there on Sunday." And I thought that was hilarious. Just like, he's just one of those guys that gets hot every once in a while. But I mean, you know more about the golf swing than me, as it just doesn't seem as consistent. It's working right now, but we'll see how it works the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, the cream's going to rise to the top. This is a no-cut event. When you have a no-cut event, everybody's playing 4 rounds. You'll see the cream rise up as we go. I'd be surprised if Streb held on. He's a world-class player, obviously. Put it all together, and there he is. You have one of those days where it just comes together and you shoot 11 under par. But it's just interesting. You put these swings out there, you make these comments, and people are really interested in Robert Streb's swing because they know it doesn't look right. You know, it looks weird. Doesn't look like the rest of the swings that you see on the PGA Tour. So I guess if he wins, we'll have to go full breakdown on Monday on TF Golf.
I'm full send on Robert Streb. I would love to to see him take it by storm, although I don't think it's going to happen. Something else I saw that was mind-boggling as I was looking up stuff for this podcast this morning was the headline that reads this: Rickie Fowler in contention at CJ Cup after visit with Butch Harmon. Now, there's a lot going on in that headline that I'm just not just not sure where it came from. First of all, he went and saw Butch Harmon after how many years of not working with him.
Yeah.
Second of all, in contention, I feel like is a bit of a stretch considering he's like 5 or 6 shots back after one round. But you're friends with his coach that he allegedly was seeing now. What's going on here? Because we know that Butch lives in Vegas. He's 78 years old now and stops traveling with the tour. So it is kind of a hot spot for that to happen in Vegas. But what's your take on this?
Well, Rickie was with Butch for a long time. During his 5 wins on the PGA Tour, he won the Players, and he was relevant, right? I mean, Rickie was relevant. Rickie has, I wouldn't put it in the funky swing category, but I would put it in a different type of action. Like it's an unusual type of swing in the way that he kind of steepens the shaft in transition. Again, you wouldn't promote that on social media. Like that's not something you're trying to do and the science is suggesting. So you have to kind of protect that. And there's some things that you have to kind of work around and match up with that particular pattern, which he clearly has done very, very well, from Oklahoma State to becoming a multiple winner on the PGA Tour. We know Rickie is a star. There's appeal there, marketing, and people want to see Rickie get back. Well, anyway, he changed coaches, went to John Tillery, who works with Kevin Kistner and some others. And as I understand, they started to kind of change that pattern a little bit more in an attempt to take some pressure off his lower back. And Rickie went through those swing changes. You could see bits and pieces of it over the last couple of years. And then we got to a point where Rickie wasn't playing that well through those changes, which I clearly can understand because those were wholesale changes. I mean, big changes, Samantha, that at that level are hard to make, to play and compete against these players. So then I think after about a year and a half of that, there was probably like 4 or 5 months ago, I tweeted out or I posted, Rickie to me looks like he went back to his old swing. It looked exactly like he used to swing it. Now we hear rumor he goes and sees Butch Harmon. It's probably the right move, right? I like John Tillery. That was a big ask to make those changes this late in his career. I think Rickie needed to go back what was successful for him, work with the swing that he had. I think the injury is probably in the lower back. Is he going to suffer from that a little bit more now as he goes back to his older swing? I don't know. So you have to kind of manage that. But I think from a performance standpoint, I'm not quite sure why he wanted to change it, go down that path other than injury. Because again, that's a huge change when you're trying to steepen the shaft more going back and then shallow it coming down when you're used to the other way, kind of shallow or horizontal going back, laid off, and then steepen it. To change that pattern and what that means to impact, I mean, that's a huge ask. So I've been texting with John Tillery, and I'm going to have him on soon. So stay tuned. Thursday, instruction on the podcast. We'll get Tillery on and kind of see what's up. But also, can I just say, Butch, look, no one talks instruction and we break it down more than here on the Stripe Show podcast on Thursday. So Butch Harmon, if you're listening, come on, let's go. Let's have you on the podcast.
I love it. He's one of those guys that, he fits right into what you're doing on what we're doing here on Thursdays. And thought it was interesting, the quotes that were here in this Golf Channel article. It said, Fowler didn't visit Harmon for swing instruction after TPC Summerlin, but he wanted assurance from a friend on what he's been working on as he searches for his mid-2010s form, obviously back when he was playing really well. It said, Harmon told golfchannel.com, he came over a couple days really just to hang out. Didn't really help him with his game. I thought he was swinging fine. I find that a little bit hard to believe, but I don't think you would go out of your way to go over there without kind of, even Fowler said himself right here, just kind of getting his stamp of approval.
Look, there's a lot of digging there to do. I don't want to speculate. I mean, I don't think you just go over there to go over there. Clearly they're friends, but look, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff happening with coaches and players. So like I said, I think we're at a point as we enter the fall here on the podcast. We're cranking, we're growing. We'll get John Tillery on. We'll see what's up, right? Talking with Tillery about Fowler. And then we'll get Butch on and we'll see what's up, right? And we'll hear it from them on what do we want to do here to get Rickie Fowler playing great golf, because he did shoot 6 under, Samantha, on Thursday, and he's still 5 back because Streb shot 11. But yeah, I mean, let's get Fowler back too. Tiger's coming back. Let's get Fowler back. We got Spieth back. Love it.
We'll get to Tiger, and we're not even going to go to Spieth today. But obviously, we know Butch is at Rio Seco in Nevada, which is out there in Las Vegas. As I said, he stopped traveling with the tour a while ago. And this Golf Channel article I read was very interesting because it's like during those 2 weeks in Vegas, it's kind of what they call like a mini camp or a combine, because he's got DJ, Woodland, Adam Scott, Rickie Fowler, Nick Watney. And so it's very interesting kind of, I would love to be a fly on the wall between those two events with all of those two practicing with one of the best instructors of all time at 78 years old. So I think that's super interesting takeaway about these couple weeks in Vegas. Obviously, those 2 weeks in Vegas were because of travel restrictions because the CJ Cup was supposed to be in South Korea. But I can imagine that between those guys we mentioned and Butch, there are some very good stories being told around the happy hour table.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's a must listen, right? And that's why we'd love to get them on, not only just talk instruction and coaching, but stories, coach speak. I think it'd be fascinating. But yeah, there's so many great stories. I mean, yeah, you'd have to put Butch as the greatest coach of all time. What he is, he's a coach, right? I think he clearly understands what he's doing from a technique standpoint, but he just has a way to, I think, go in with players, different types of patterns, Rickie Fowler types of patterns, Dustin Johnson types of patterns, match things up, and protect the genius that's within these players, and then position them mentally to go out and play instinctive golf and just be themselves, right? I think protecting the genius of professional golfers is got to be the most important thing to do. There's a genius in Rickie Fowler. He swings the club differently, but you got to protect that and not rock the boat so much where he can't be the player that he knows he can be. And there's always a learning curve when you make changes. And it's not a perfect science, but I think if anybody's come the closest to perfecting the science of protecting that genius and making subtle changes for the better, it's certainly Butch.
Yeah, I would agree. And that brings us to an interesting point that I was going to mention, and you're not going to think this flows well, but it does. Rory yesterday shot 68, had an eagle and a triple and only 2 pars in the back 9. And that leads me to, obviously I played in college, played at Arkansas. And that's kind of one of the things we talk about a lot when talking about college athletics is, as you know, those coaches they're there to help when you need it, but they're not there to change your swing, right? They're not typically your swing coach. They're more like the course management coach or the coach that facilitates your practices. And one of the biggest things that my coach, Shauna, taught us at Arkansas was just to get out of trouble. And I think that that's something that so many amateurs can learn and that I didn't really even understand until I was in college. Play the shot you know you can hit. Don't try to be a hero. And I'm not saying that that's what happened here in Rory's case, but those big numbers, they really can hurt you if you could just get it down 1 stroke or 2 strokes. And if you do that 9 or 10 times around, you're going to improve dramatically. And I remember always thinking, my coach would always tell me, look in all 4 directions. If you're in the tree, look high, look low, look left, look right. Obviously, most of the time there's a place you're not looking. Hit the shot you know you can hit. Get out of trouble, and you will be better fit to avoid those large numbers, because large numbers growing up for me were always my downfall. I wouldn't make as many bogeys as I would make like 2 doubles. And then I would have to rally back for several birdies or even an eagle. So something to take away there. Obviously, I don't know what happened on that hole for Rory, but that's your advice from me this weekend is get out of trouble with 1 shot, just punch it out. I don't care if it's 10 feet. and take your medicine and go from there. Would you agree?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's kind of Rory though, isn't it? Like he eagles 14, birdies 15, triple bogey 17, birdies 18. I mean, it's just, it's kind of Rory, he's so unworldly talented, can do so many things. And then it just seems like there's this one thing, brain lapse, something kind of in the way. I don't know. Just always kind of something there as of late with Rory. I know he won in Charlotte last year, although it's this calendar year, but the last season on the PGA Tour. I just think it's, I just think it's being able to focus and keep that intensity up for Rory. I think that's all it is. I really do. And I think there's some still work to be done, I think, with his swing and whatnot that he's been working on with Pete Cowan. But just that triple bogey from, I believe he was either in the bunker or just right outside of it. I mean, it's just silly, at his level of play. It's just unacceptable. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, be conservative, right? When you hit it in the trees and you're a 10 handicap, punch it back out to the middle of the fairway. Don't go through this little window and try to get it up by the green. Minimize the damage, be conservative, and punch it out, and then learn, and now live another day and minimize the damage. I think it's hard to do. It really is, because the emotions are running and it's hard to eliminate and just accept, like, okay, I'm probably going to make a bogey here, but let's not make any more than a bogey. And now I go for it, I hit the tree, it comes down, and oh my goodness, now I'm going to make maybe double or triple.
Yeah, you got to look at, like, if you're going to punch it through the trees and you're not able to get it on the green, then just hit it out where you won't hit a tree. If it's going to take 2 shots to get on the green anyway, that's kind of what I would always try to think about in college, is how many shots is it going to take me to get out of this? And let's not make it more than that.
Right.
Like if the window is so small and I'm not 100% sure I can execute that shot, then it's not worth it. So there's your little tip from me going into your weekend round. But speaking of things changing in golf, we've got a USGA driver length limit that came out this week. Let me read you what it says on the USGA. It's long, so I'll just abbreviate it. USGA and RNA have announced the new model local rule, MLRG 10, if you want to look it up, will be available beginning on January 1st, 2022. So that's just in a couple weeks. Provide those running professional or elite amateur golf competitors the option of limiting the maximum length of a golf club, excluding putters, to 46 inches. This proposal was announced back in February, which, I'm sure the PAC, PGA Tour Player Advisory Council, talked a lot about. Mike Wan commented on it too. We worked close with our industry partners to ensure the future of golf remains strong. He said, admittedly, this is not the answer to the overall distance debate, but rather a simple option for competitive events. It's important to note this is not a rule of golf. It is not mandated for the average recreational golfer. Rather, this is an available tool for those running competitive events. And that's something that I think is lost in the translation of, the Twitter headlines and oh my God, it's now 46 inches is the max. It's not.
Right.
Like, for you and I who are going out and playing once or twice a week,
right.
I'm not swinging a 46-inch driver anyway, but lots of comments on this, especially on social media, as there always is. What are your first thoughts?
I mean, I think we've reached a point where with the USGA, I don't think there's nothing that they could do at this point that's not going to get some kind of uproar, giving their previous history and the way they've handled certain situations. They've kind of made their bed to some degree, and now they're trying to govern differently. There's some new leadership coming in, which I think is going to be great. And it's going to take some time, I think, for people to trust some of the decisions that they're making. If you look at this one independently, I mean, to me, it just feels like a bit of a moot point on the PGA Tour level. There's only a few guys, Bryson, Phil, that have, there might be a couple others, but there's not many that have drivers longer than 46 inches. I think in the professional level, it makes sense. You got to start doing something. And I think it makes sense to start here with the length of the driver, because it's only a few guys, right? And I think with the athletes, where things are going in training, I think what Bryson is proving to be able to swing at a technique and speeds that can get it out there like the way that he is, and dominating distance consistently 330 to 345 yards, and be relatively accurate with the design of these heads and shaft combinations. Like, okay, we're starting now to go into a different level here, right? Now, so I think you got to do something. And I think it makes sense on the professional level. I know Phil chirped about it. He was kind of even took a shot a bit at the PGA Tour, and that he had to find out through social media, which Phil seems to be chirping a lot towards the PGA Tour as of late, which is something to keep our eye on. But I don't know. It doesn't even affect, to me, it's a moot point. I think it's a right move. And this, what Phil's saying, and I think JT didn't like it, and some others, like it'll smooth over and off we go.
Yeah, well, to elaborate on that, you're right. Mickelson's tweet said, it's extremely disappointing to find out the PGA Tour adopted the new USGA rule through the media. As I read a second ago, again, it's like an optional rule kind of thing, right? Yeah. And he said, I don't know of any player who had any say or any representation in this matter. And then a tour official commented that all players had been sent an email Tuesday morning saying that the rule was going to be implemented. So I don't know how I feel about it. Mickelson's comment, stupid is as stupid does. It's pathetic. It's less fun. I don't know. I think it's interesting. But as you said, Thomas Pagel, the USGA's managing director of governance, came on Golf Today on Golf Channel and said that it only affects 3% of PGA Tour players. As you said, it's Bryson, it's Phil, and it's Dylan Fratelli, who, if you would have put a gun to my head and asked me the third player, I would have been able to tell you Dylan Fratelli.
Right.
So, I mean, it's such a small percentage, but Phil does make a splash in that argument, standing up and chirping, like you said. Justin Thomas says, I don't really agree with it. I feel like there's a lot of other things like the arm bar putter they should be approaching as opposed to the length of the driver. But people like Colin Morikawa and Jason Kokrak didn't really care. Colin said, I'm not going to change my driver specs. I don't think it's going to change many other guys' driver specs. And Kokrak said, it doesn't affect me. I don't need to worry about it. So, yeah. I mean, they've made their final decision, but
well, like I said, I mean, and that's the easy thing to do with the USGA, right? And it's frustrating, and I've been frustrated with them. Like, is then to go to, well, you should have done something about this. You should have done something about this, and look how you handled. I mean, there's so many examples from the previous regime that you can go to. I think we've got to let Mike Wan come in, his team, and just, kind of get things the way that they want it and start governing and make decisions. I think it's going to go in a much better direction. This decision to me makes sense. It affects very few people. But yeah, I mean, Phil seems to be making a splash about a lot of things. It almost kind of reminds me of Phil's like on a high right now, right? Like he's won the PGA. He's dominating the Champions Tour. He can kind of go, I can go roll with, what's that?
He doesn't let us forget that he won the PGA either.
Yeah, I can go roll with my buddies on the Champions Tour, then I can come hang and hold court with the young guys on the PGA Tour. Got the Wanamaker Trophy. I've won 3 or 4 on the Champions Tour. I'm good at social media. Like, he's got a little power here, right? Now, how he uses that, we'll have to wait and see. I think he's overdoing it a little bit here with his choice of words and the way that he's handling it with the PGA Tour. We'll have to wait and see how things go from here. But at the end of the day, I think the USGA's I think it's the right move. It is. You got to start doing something, right? Bryson is opening up a whole nother world here. So you got to start at least trying to get in front of that train, because you didn't get in front of the ball situation when it started to go down that path.
And I would almost say that Mickelson has more of a right to be upset with the PGA Tour than the USGA and R&A, because the PGA Tour didn't have to adopt this rule, right? It's an optional rule that USGA put in place as like here it is if you want it, Yeah. And the PGA Tour said, yeah, sure. But the last thing we'll say on this is my favorite part of this whole argument was when Lee Westwood tweeted back at Phil's tweet saying, what difference does a couple of inches make? And there you go. You could take that for whatever.
Westwood living life right now, man. Westwood right now, he is playing on house money. He's, in love with his new wife, caddying. He could go out and shoot 85 and walk off, have a couple pints, jump in the hot tub, and have a smile on his face the whole time. He don't give a shit right now. I mean, he is living life, and I love it.
And that's like one of those things when we had, I forget who, I think it was Lucas Herbert, wasn't it? Who was talking about setting goals and how not everybody wants to be number one in the world. Like you said, Lee Westwood is doing just fine. Talk about somebody who's doing just fine. But last couple of things we'll touch on here is there is what did you say? She's a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
Macy Pate. Does she even have her driver's license?
Probably not.
57. She breaks the NCHSAA, which is North Carolina High School Association, 18-hole scoring record with a 57. I saw a picture of the scorecard. I couldn't even wrap my head around the amount of circles on it. That's insane.
It is. It's the most impressive thing that I've seen all year for sure. It's hands down the most impressive thing. What was it, like 14 threes or 13 threes? I mean, it's easy to add up. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. It's easy to add up.
Yeah, she was on Golf Channel. I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday, and she's going to come on the pod next week. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But
seems like a really sweet girl. And she's going to be on with you on Friday next week, which I look forward to. Wow, what a future. I mean, my goodness.
I looked up her Instagram. I was just checking her out and seeing, her past results and stuff. And obviously she posts a lot about golf. And I think it was like 2 weeks ago, she posted like, pumped to have shot 72. I'm like, girl, if you only knew, you were going to shoot 15 strokes better than that. And I saw her comments on Golf Channel. She had said like, I was hitting my wedges close and my putter was on fire. I'm like, well, yeah, that would do it then, huh? Maybe
it's cool
Bryson
to see. I love it.
And get a little wedge lesson.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you might want to tune in next week on how to hit your wedges like that far from the hole.
Then your putting doesn't even need to be on point then. No. How about that?
Right. That's right. That. Doesn't matter what length your driver is when you can hit your short irons to a foot.
Exactly. The last thing we'll say is that Tiger Woods was seen at Charlie's event. I'm not sure what event it was, but standing with no boot, no crutches, standing by himself with the club in his hand. And that is just all the Friday motivation and encouragement we need going into the weekend.
It's exciting. I think I have two emotions here when I saw that and we were talking about it. One is just how great golf has been without Tiger. Like, we should feel good about the stories that we've had, right? Like, in golf's in a good spot. Bryson and Brooks and JT and Dustin and the Ryder Cup and the rising stars of young American golfers who look now could be very dominant in Ryder Cups and international play with the President's Cup. And we know that golf is exploding across the world. It's so deep. The Korn Ferry Tour is ridiculous how deep it is, and getting to meet these guys that you've been doing a great job with on Fridays. We've got Chad Ramey coming up, Mito Pereira, other guys that are just, this Mito Pereira is going to be phenomenal on the PGA Tour. So it's like there's so many great things. I didn't forget about Tiger, but I almost did. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the first time in 44 years, I was really consumed in golf and all of these other things. Mm-hmm. And Tiger wasn't dominating and, I guess, carrying it to some degree. And now here's Tiger. He's coming back. It's going to happen. He's coming back. I have no question in my mind you're going to see him out there playing golf again. I don't know that. I'm just speculating. I'm not texting Tiger. I haven't got one here today from him. But he's coming back. He looks good. All the rumors are that the recovery is happening quickly, as well as they expected, if not beyond. If anybody's going to make that knee and ankle get close to 100%, it's going to be Tiger. And if it's reasonable, he'll make it work, and he'll be out there competing again. And just the fact that Tiger's competing in tournaments is huge for the sport.
Yeah, it's interesting. I tweeted a couple days ago. I think it was last week. You get how you like your old tweets on your feed.
Mhm.
Well, when I was reporting for sports for Fox, I did this clip about how, oh my God, this Tiger Woods tweeted a video of himself swinging a golf club. And this was October 7th, 2017, when Tiger had said in an interview that week that he didn't know if he would ever compete again. 18 months later, he won the Masters.
Yep.
So that's just to prove exactly like you said, that if anybody's going to do something insane like that, say they're never going to play again and, battle with all the drug addictions and injuries that he had, and then deal with this and be seen at Charlie's tournament. I just think there's not another person on the PGA Tour that I think could do it once, let alone twice.
Yeah. So you have to have, okay, so he's got all the money in the world, which he's going to have the best specialists giving him advice and working on the knee and the ankle and the leg 24/7, right? So that's helpful. Number two, Tiger has a tremendous amount of pain tolerance just to even work through this. He's a tough guy. And now it sounds like he's kind of starting to come out on the other side of it, right? With confidence and belief that it's going to happen. Thirdly, Tiger will put the time in, and he will train, and he will get it the way that he has. So everything's moving in the right direction. He has all the means to make this happen, and it's going to happen. I have no doubt we'll see him playing again. I believe that.
Well, I would love to see it, and I think that's a good vibe energy that I'm going to take into the weekend. And by the way, what?
Keith Mitchell just birdied the first 3 holes. He's 13 under, folks, and he's only played 21 holes.
That's some Macy Pate stuff right there. Watch out.
He's 13 under through 21 holes. This golf course is no match. It's
beautiful too. I've been watching people's stories from out there. Gotta love Vegas.
Yeah, you do. I love it. I love these back-to-back in Vegas. It is phenomenal. I love watching golf there. There's still some good tournaments coming up, and we're going to have a good fall run here, October, November. But yeah, these back-to-back in Vegas, the CJ Cup, of course, it gets a great field to see a lot of these guys here. DJ struggled yesterday. It's weird to see him. Rahm struggled in Europe, shot 1,000.
Yeah. No birdies, not a single one.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's weird to see John Rahm with a +8 next to his name.
Yeah.
He looks at the paper and he's like, wait, Keith Mitchell's -13? Wow, that was a great tournament. Wait, he's only played 3 holes on Friday? The hell am I doing over here?
Yeah, maybe we need to start this over and delete the Robert Streb part and talk about Mitchell.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we have today for Happy Hour on Friday, October 15th. We've got the CJ Cup this weekend. I'm going to keep an eye on Macy Pate and her tournament this weekend, see how she does after shooting 57. Maybe there's another 57 in her future. Again, we'll have her on next week. A lot of really good podcasts this week. If you haven't listened to them all yet, I would highly recommend it. I will post the links here coming up at the Stripe Show Pod on Twitter. Be sure to give us a follow. Again, like, review, comment, subscribe, rate, do all the things. And we really, really appreciate you listening in and tuning in with us for a little recap on the week. And with that, Travis, we will say cheers and make it a great weekend.
Yes. Thank you, Samantha. We'll see you next week.
See you guys.